Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast, a place where industry experts discuss how technology is impacting our life, our work, while also transforming entire industries and even the world. Every day, I'm going to be serving you a daily dose of optimism and motivation while highlighting along the way that technology really does work best when it brings people together. After hearing how Google recently announced its intentions to test new AR glasses prototypes, the reality that augmented reality may be our future is finally starting to settle in. So with this in mind, today I'm going to introduce you to a company called OVER, a company building the first augmented reality open metaverse that enables users to create unique geolocalised experiences that bridge the gap between our physical and digital worlds. So today I want to explore more about how they're utilising community-driven 3D mapping and providing users and builders alike with an opportunity to own AR metaverse real estate and map their own local areas. Sounds incredibly cool. So today's guest is Diego De Tommaso, and he's the co-founder and COO of OVER, and he's also going to be talking about the growing groundswell for information related to the emerging AR market, not to mention that great work they're doing. So buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Italy, where you can join me and Diego in conversation. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Hi, everybody. Big pleasure to be here. So my name is Diego De Tommaso, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Over the Reality. What brings me here is a kind of long journey. I mean, that started probably, if I need to find a date, that should be probably in 2014 when I first heard about Bitcoin, and I went basically in the rabbit hole. And yeah, I mean, that was really the beginning of my passion for decentralized technologies. But then, when really everything started up with the Over was more in 2017 when I went into Ethereum. Back then, I was mining actually, and back then I met Davide Cuttini, that is my co-founder. We are the two co-founders, and he told me about this crazy idea about building this augmented reality. Back then we didn't call it Metaverse. Was the term we used was more spatial web. So the idea was to augment the physical world with augmented reality. I immediately thought that was a very bad idea. That did not work. But then, we start really thinking about it and writing down the white paper, understanding better what are the opportunities, and we really saw how much potential was there. And back then was not so easy because both this concept of NFTs and metaverses and so on was not really there. I mean, NFTs actually had a bad name back then because there was CryptoKitties that actually clogged the Ethereum network. So right now it's quite easy to see how all these things go together. But back then it was a little bit more difficult to imagine that this could really work. But I mean, was a great ride, and we was lucky enough to start building this while we were in the bear market, because when we really started the company was 2018, and nobody want to give us money or give us credit or whatever. And so we had really time we was just 5 of us back then. And we took our time to build an MVP that we could present when the market was picking up. And we've been, visionary or lucky enough to launch in the right time, because we launched publicly over during December 2020. That was just the beginning, basically, of the bull market. And so back then it was in 5. Now we are 35 people. So things went quite good, I would say, in the last 2 years. And so here we are for keeping building this vision that we had back in 2017.
I love that. And I'm curious, if I was to take you back in time before 2014 and when you got interested in Bitcoin and go back even further, before even things like Second Life were a thought, can you remember where your passion for technology came from and that moment that put you on a path that you're on today where the worlds of fashion and tech would collide for you?
Well, I think that I've always been very interested in all of that is technological. I mean, since I was a young child, first with video games and then with computers and so on. Also, I've been, my first degree was in philosophy, and one thing that I was very interested to was also philosophy of the mind. And so computers and AI was like something I was really looking into. And I remember back then was very theoretical thing, and now it's something really real because we see incredible examples of that. And yeah, so it has been always two passions that were in some way in parallel. So the fashion one was more like my family business, my family company that was working on that, and of course, so was part of my daily experience and what I breathe every day. On the other side, this part, technological was something more, that comes from, what I liked since I was a child. So it's very strange that now I can combine these two worlds that looks so far away from each other. No, maybe the first moment these two worlds start touching each other was with the explosion of e-commerce and so on. That again, right now we give it for granted, but if you go back just 15 years ago, people was not really generating so much revenues from e-commerce, and right now is like an accessory part of business. So very probably, and of course I'm biased when I say this, but very probably in the next future, we will also see digital fashion like something that is an important part of the business of these companies, especially since we spend more and more time in front of 2D internet and computer right now, but in the future we will spend more and more time in this 3D metaverse immersive world. So we will want to actually express ourselves through clothes like we do in the physical world in the virtual world.
And of course, it was that path that led you to OVER, which is a company building the first augmented reality open metaverse, which is enabling users to create unique geolocalised experiences that ultimately are aimed at bridging the gap between our physical and digital worlds, which is an incredibly exciting space to be in right now. But can you set the scene and offer the listeners of an overview of what makes OVER and what makes you different from the other solutions out there? Because there's so much movement in this space right now, isn't there?
Absolutely. So, the metaverse right now, if you think the metaverse is totally a buzzword right now, no? Yeah. Since, November when Zuckerberg made us this favor for the first time, a favor from Facebook. So changing the name in Meta. And if you think about the big incumbents in the metaverse space, they are usually, actually not usually, they are specifically focused on VR. So the Centraland, Sandbox, and the most famous metaverse, as you was mentioning before, also Second Life. And again, back then we didn't call it metaverse, but definitely is a metaverse. Mm-hmm. And those are totally focused on VR, so on what we call an occlusive experience. So an experience that totally takes you away from the physical world. And we believe that this use case and this kind of metaverse is big and will be even bigger in the future. But we believe that the higher potential is not there in VR, but is in augmented reality. And why is that? It's because we live in physical world at the end of the day. And yes, probably we will spend some hours of the day on an occlusive Googles. But for the rest, we will still live in the physical world. So having something that can augment this physical world is where the real potential is. This is at least what we believe. And so because of that, we built OVER, and OVER is a way to actually augment the physical world. So edit the physical world, creating a mixed reality. So adding digital assets to geographic locations that are contextualized. For example, you want to create historical reconstruction of a fight at the Colosseum. How cool is it if you're a tourist and you go there and you see it? So in our system, you can build these kind of experiences. And there are three main components to allow this kind of editing of the physical world. So we have an ownership layer. So just like in the web, you own a web domain and you decide what's the content. So you own coca-cola.com, you decide what the content over there. On Over, we have what we call spatial domains. So you have geographic coordinates. And once you own those geographic coordinates that are represented by NFTs, you can assign the content that you will publish there in augmented reality. Then we have a mapping layer. And finally, we have a builder, so a software to publish the content. This is the three components that are needed to actually edit and publish content in the physical world.
And of course, every company is heavily rumoured, or every tech company is heavily rumoured to be working on an AR headset right now. And unlike the traditional virtual reality metaverse we've come to know, augmented reality technology gives users almost the best of both worlds. So I'm curious, what excites you most about this space?
Well, I mean, what really excites me is the fact that the smart glasses, when they will be there, they will finally enable actually to move from this 2D metaverse or 3D metaverse that is occlusive with something that is really merged with the physical world. So right now, if you think about that, we spend 6.5 hours on average looking at our smartphone. So looking down at our smartphone. So when we will have finally smart glasses that are cheap enough and works well enough to have a broader adoption, we will start finally looking back in front of us. So heads up and having the world augmented with this data layer that is presented with 3D content. So that's why we're really excited, because we're really at the beginning of this. We see some small examples on what is the potential of AR. For example, think about Pokemon Go. They generated incredible traction, even if the use case was very, let's say, simple at the end of the day, just catching these Pokemons around the world. So think what can be built once we finally have the tools to do more than that. And about this, if I may, I come back to what is our infrastructure. So I was mentioning that we have these three layers, and the second layer is a mapping layer. So just a little digging on that, because I think is important. So when you do geolocalized augmented reality, usually you use GPS to locate you in space. Mm-hmm. And with GPS, you can build use cases like Pokemon Go, because you don't need precision. But already, if you are indoor, GPS doesn't know where you are. And even if you are, for example, in New York, outside, but with big buildings, also GPS doesn't know where you are. And so, for example, Google, if you use the Google Maps, ask you to point to the buildings around you to understand where you are in space. So we are building in Web3, not in Web2 anymore, a system to locate you in space, very similar to what Google is doing when they ask you to point to the buildings. And so is this system that basically is the gate to the augmented reality metaverse, because without a technology to locate you in space precisely, you cannot really build an augmented reality metaverse. You can say you built an augmented reality metaverse, but what you will be able to do are very limited use cases, like, for example, Pokemon Go, that is still cool, but it's just a small part of what you can build in AR. So if I think about us and what is the main focus that we have, if compared to other metaverses, is not only this AR aspect, but also specifically the idea of building this data layer, this spatial data layer that allows for the augmented reality metaverse to live in Web3, not anymore on Web2 space.
It's incredibly exciting, and anything that gets people to look up from their phones and in front of them again has got to be a great thing. And
absolutely.
Can you walk me through how OVER works and how your community-driven 3D mapping actually provides users and builders alike with that opportunity to own AR metaverse real estate, map their local areas to earn, I think, OVR tokens and also explore Web3? Because it seems incredibly cool what you're creating here, but for people that are hearing about it for the first time, you just walk me through everything?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as I was mentioning, so you have this ownership layer. So with this thing that we call OVR lands. So you buy these geographic coordinates. It's like buying a web domain, but the space, so a spatial domain. But over that, once you have the geographic coordinates, yes, you can publish, but you can publish with the GPS precision. So outdoor 2 to 6 meters, indoor kind of 20 meters, something like that, not really precise. So if you want to do more, if you want to, for example, put a hat in the head of a statue, or I don't know, have an avatar outside of the door of a shop, something like that, and you need to be there, you need to be precisely there. You need to map the location, and this mapping, as I was mentioning, is what lets you enter in the metaverse. So the way it works is that users with mobile phones, normal smartphone, not LiDAR or stuff like that, just with a camera, can go in places and take pictures of these locations. It's around 300 pictures you need to take for each hexagon, that is 300 square meters. And from these pictures, we generate two things. So one is a 3D map of a location. So you can see in 3D the location. So you can know where are things when you edit it. So it's not just a picture, it's really a 3D space. And then another thing that we do is that we train a neural network. So the next time the camera of the phone sees that location, understands where it is in space with 20 centimeters accuracy, just like your eyes are doing actually when you look around and you understand where you are in space. And the cool thing is all of this system is powered by Web3. So what does it mean? It means that when you do this activity, so you spend time doing this, basically you generate an asset, and this asset is yours. And this asset is a 3D map that is represented by an NFT. And this 3D map, you can use it by yourself, for example, to locate assets in space, or you can sell it. For example, I own OVR land in New York, and I live in Italy. So I can ask somebody to go in the location, take the picture, generate an NFT, and sell it to me because I want to have precise localization over there. And really, again, what I'm really excited about that is that finally, we are building this mapping system, this geodata that is not anymore owned by a big Web2 company. This is a community effort. And the fact that is the community or the single user that generate this, leave to them the value because they own the map. It's not us company that are owning the map, that are they that are owning the map and generating the NFT. And I think this is a fundamental shift in the way, we create these metaverses. So from closed gardens in the like FANG way to this new Web3 paradigm where basically the users can own also these platforms.
And I know it is very early days, but I'm curious, do you think businesses should already be thinking about having an AR strategy? And do you have any examples of any quick thinking businesses that are ahead of the curve here and how them or brands are unlocking opportunities already? Are you seeing anything around that?
Well, absolutely. There's very early use cases. I was mentioning before Pokemon Go, and there was businesses that actually was putting traps for Pokemons in front of their shops, so that people, collectors of Pokemons, went there to augment the traffic in front of their stores. But there's also all of this world of actually bringing new generations, attaching to this new generation to your brand early. And we are seeing this clearly happening, for example, in the Central with the Metaverse Fashion Week, where many brands are establishing their presence there, even if maybe right now there's not so many people visiting it. Probably they're not generating so much revenues, but they're establishing a presence over there. So I think it's very important for brands to actually, first of all, connotate themselves as innovative, but also to start being familiar to the new generations that will be their new customers. And of course, the use case is that the ways that you can use AR to actually project your brand are kind of endless. So you can build games, as I was mentioning, like, for example, like variations of Pokemon Go. You can do showcase of products in augmented reality, and that is very powerful. Just think, for example, about Apple. Apple is working a lot on showcasing their products in AR. And there's a reason for that, because if you see, for example, an Apple Watch on the 2D screen of your computer, even if it's in 3D, you have a kind of emotion. But if you see it in augmented reality fused with the real world, the perception that you have of the object, the sensation that is much more stronger. So really this because our brain is wired to process spatial data. So when you present to your brain something that is fused with the physical world, it will have a much better sensation and stronger grasp on how the object is, because also it relates it to the rest of the environment. Like we was mentioning before, your eyes look around and it makes you understand where you are. So again, that's not only about educating new customers, but it's also about using these means that is very powerful, because our brain functions looking at spatial data. And so I think this is the product showcase also will be something that we will see more and more. But again, probably gaming is the first step in this direction, because like always, gamers are like the early adopters of technologies and so on. And so there's a reason why, again, we saw games as the first use cases for augmented reality. But again, also there are many things that are more like not anymore on the brand side, but on the useful things. So let's, for example, try to imagine having an avatar that actually can explain you about a product or a service, or can guide you inside the mall, knowing where it is in space. So there's so many use cases that are difficult to mention all of them. But I think really that the gamification and the showcasing of products are really low-hanging fruits for brands and companies that want to enter in the metaverse.
And for any individuals, businesses or brands that consider themselves early adopters and wanting to experiment and create their own avatar, etc., can you walk me through how they can get up and running?
Yeah, so in our case, it's quite easy, and at least we're making the easier that we can. So first of all, you don't need to really know about crypto to just being a user of this metaverse. So you can just download the app, and from the app will allow you to create your own avatar. What you need to create it is just taking a selfie, and our AI will create a 3D avatar that represents your head. And also you have a body, and this body, you can personalize it with digital clothes. As I was mentioning before, you can create NFTs, or artists can create NFTs that you can wear with your avatar. So you can flex those clothes, not only in the physical world, but also in the virtual world. So once you have this avatar, you can also interact with other people in this metaverse. And this use case, for example, of interacting with other users in the metaverse is yet another very powerful use case. One example that I always give is the event that Fortnite did with Travis. They had 28 million spectators of that event. And if you think about other big music events, the physical ones like Woodstock in '69 was 1 million people. Or Coachella before COVID, 1.3 million people. So the potential to actually meet people and create events in the metaverse is so big, is so much bigger than what it is in the physical world. So the fact of having an avatar, being able to interact naturally with other people with these avatars, I think that is a very, very important component of what is the metaverse.
And I'm glad you said people there, because I think we often get carried away with businesses, brands, opportunities in Web3 and the metaverse, etc. But really, Web3 and the metaverse is much more about empowering communities, isn't it, than anything else?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's the important part about Web3. The fact that communities can be there not only like clients, but like owners of this metaverse, and can actually, and also the fact that thanks to Web3 technology, not only you can own something, but when you own this, is not confined to that metaverse. So another interesting concept that is coming out from Web3 is that actually that of the open metaverse. So the fact that either is open, either is not the Web3 metaverse. So the fact that if you own an NFT in a metaverse, you can bring it out and use it in other metaverses. I like the way, for example, Scott Galloway was putting it as was saying, like, talking about Web3 and this power, the powerful idea about owning something. If you are confined in a single metaverse, it's like buying a Birkin bag and not being able to bring it out from the shop. It doesn't make sense at all. So, so the fact that basically you can own things and lets you really participate in these ecosystems in a totally different way from what we are used in Web2, where basically we are just, let's say, milks. So the Web2 companies just farm our attention and leave us with very few things. Maybe they leave us with some services, but all of the monetary value they take for them. With Web3, finally, the users can be part also of the monetary value of the system, and this configures it in a less extractive way.
And I'm conscious we have offered an overview of OVER today, and we will have patient members of your community that have been listening, just hoping for a teaser about the road ahead or any hints of what you're working on. So for fans of your community already, what can they expect from OVER in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months? Well,
so we have, I would say we have three very interesting things that we're working on. Actually will be out probably more earlier than 6 months, but I will go through those anyway. So first, we have the first that is coming out is what we call, actually we're still finalizing the naming, but is a console. So it's a software that allows you to be in the metaverse physically. So with this console, everybody will be able to create an event like the Travis one that I was mentioning, where the performer, a DJ or anybody that is performing something, also a dancer, can actually be in the metaverse, not only with his face, but with the movements of the whole body. In fact, we allow people to connect with the motion tracking suits. And in the close future, also just with the webcam, you will have all of the body movements projected through your avatar in the metaverse, and you will be able to perform live performances and so on. So this is one thing. The other thing is AI avatars. So again, in the next months, we're going to release these avatars that are powered by AIs. I don't know. I'm sure you're aware because you're working in this technology space that, NLP, what is called NLP, natural language processing, had incredible progress in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And basically, we are taking the state of the art of these open source algorithms, and will allow avatars to actually interact with people by voice, powered by these algorithms. And this will be out also in the next months. And finally, the most important thing that I was mentioning about is this mapping. So this mapping now is in alpha. We have only 300 people that are testing this, but in the next 1 to 2 months, this will be open to everybody. So everybody will be able to use this system, generate their maps. And another thing we are working on that is a little bit, under development, but already some showcases I did it. So we are also going to use this data to generate what is called neural renders. So there are algorithms that have just come out that allows to take these pictures and generate like virtual fly-throughs. So just imagine like a Google map, but with a virtual drone that can fly around the location. And the final development of this will be actually the creation of digital twins. So from this data, not only you will be able to create some fly-throughs to locate in space very specifically, but you will be able to reconstruct in 3D the actual location. So you will have an augmented reality experience when we are in the location, and a digital twin, so a VR experience of the location when you are at home. So this is, the big things we're working on for the next months.
Wow, incredibly cool. And we started the podcast today talking about your origin story, what put you on this path. Now, as we come full circle, I'm going to ask you to leave everyone listening with a personal note of inspiration. So Is there a book that has inspired you, or even a song that's inspired you that we can add to either our Spotify playlist or our Amazon wish list? All I ask is there a story behind your choice? So what are you going to leave us with today?
Yes, so for the songs there will be too many. So I will try to I will try to stick with a book actually that I read. I think it was like 8 years ago, something like that. And it's this book from Ray Kurzweil that is called "The Singularity is Near." And many things that are written in this book really come resonating with me over and over again. So. In this book, of course, as the title says, Ray Kurzweil talks about, the fact that we will get to this singularity, to this merge between, our mind and the AI mind. And what is very interesting about this book is how it talks about this exponential path that we are very familiar about when we talk about computers. Everybody knows about the Moore's law and so on. But the interesting thing is that Ray Kurzweil in the book put this exponential growth in intelligence and in development in a more broad sense. So it doesn't talk only about computers. Computers is just a part of this path that humanity basically started from actually not only humanity, life started from, the one cell to many cells to the evolution to humans, to societies, to Gutenberg with the written language, to, of course, computers, radio, televisions, and so on. And so there is if you plot all of these points, you see really that there is like an exponential path in the velocity in which all these innovations happens in time. And, while I was reading this book like 8 years ago, it looked like it makes sense. There is some very nice data charts that shows you how there is really an exponential path through that. But that was like something that rationally I understood, but I didn't really have the feeling of believing it. That sometimes you see things rationally, but you don't really believe it. But now, in the last 1 to 2 years, seeing what's happening with AI and like GPT-3 and DALL-E 2 and so on. So these incredible explosions in what are the capabilities of AI. Now I really starting also feeling and believing. That what Ray Kurzweil was saying is actually happening. So yeah, I think that this is a nice book for everybody that loves technology and is interested in these kind of things. So yeah, I would suggest to anybody of reading that brick, because it's kind of big book, but with I guess that with the first 100 pages, you already have a very good idea of the concept.
Absolutely love it. I'll get that added to our Amazon wish list. I'll be checking that out myself. And before I let you go, though, for anyone listening wanting to find out more information about OVER, maybe there's some videos that they can check out and see it in action. What's the best starting point for everything?
I would say that the best way is to, of course, if you want to have an idea of how OVER works, just download the app and try the experiences, so you will understand what we can build in augmented reality. But the other way, of course, is through the website. And please, also we have all the channels, social channels and so on. Please use the official ones, because we know that we are in the far west in crypto and everybody will try to something for you. So please just stick to the official channels. And also on the website, you will find also a link to many videos that we've been published. So if you are more like a video person or somebody that prefers to listen instead of reading, we also have a lot of content, podcasts, and amazing podcasts like yours. So yes, I think the app to have a feeling of what we're doing, and the website with all the links is a good place to start to understand about OVER.
Well, I'll have the links to the blog post associated to this episode that will help people get everything that they need nice and easily. And I think, as I said, every big tech company is looking at creating AR headsets. Google announced its intention to test new AR glasses prototypes, I think, in the next few weeks. And the reality that AR may be our future is finally starting to settle in. And I think most people listening would have played with Pokemon Go at some point over the last 5 years or so. And what I love about what you're doing here, though, is it's not just about the technology, brands and businesses, but it's about community-driven 3D mapping and providing users and builders alike with the opportunity to own that AR metaverse real estate, map their own areas and earn OVR tokens as a result as well. But thank you so much for simplifying all that, putting it in a language everyone can understand and being patient enough to share that with me today. Thank you.
No, thanks to you. It was a pleasure. Thanks, really.
I must admit, after dropping by the website, it seems that jumping into the AR metaverse seems to be as simple as creating your unique personal avatar and then just exploring user-generated experiences. So I'm going to be doing that, and I'll report back with my personal experience and insights from my hands-on, and I invite you all to do the same. I always like to finish every episode by saying technology works best when it brings people together. And the fact that you tune in every single day further proves that point. So I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. But a big thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.